with the Association for the Study of Afro American Life and History, and this is a part of our oral project, working in cooperation with MATA. And today we have with us working as a producer Marilyn Lock and Carlton Williams. And our guest today is Mrs. Mattiebelle Woods, one of the institutions in our community dating way back when she was editor of the Chicago Defender in Milwaukee. And Mrs. Woods has an illustrious career in all of the state of Wisconsin. Ms. Woods, welcome.
It's nice saying hello to you.
Good. When did you come to Milwaukee?
I'm a native of Milwaukee.
You were born here. When did your parents come?
Before me, of course.
Well, we won't get into when that was. Okay, the one thing that I really remember, because we sort of grew up around the old Urban League, I remember you as being on the old red feather, what do you call it, community chess?
In those days it was called community chess.
And how did you serve in the community chess, and what did you do for the Urban League?
Well, I was a division leader at that time. And I felt that we should do something constructive to help, because I had always believed we received but never gave. So at this particular time, I was happy, as our results were, that I went over the quota. And when they gave me the little red feather,
this is it here.
yes, award, I thought, an award is all right, but I wanted something more constructive to prove that we did something. So I went to the board and mentioned the fact that the Urban League was one of our babies and needed support. And they took it into consideration.
Right, that was in 1951, wasn't it?
And then it became a Red Feather Agency.
And I see here we have a letter on the Schlitz stationery commending you for the good work that you had accomplished with the Red Feather. In addition to that, we also had a letter from Mr. William Kelly, who was the executive director of the Urban League, also known as Bill Kelly.
That we love so well.
Right. And here's a picture of some very famous people. Can you name, put your point to the people who are in this picture, and this was around 1951, and name them.
The well-known Ben Barkin that we all know and love very well.
Recently retired from Barkin and Herman Publication Fund. Yes.
At that time, everything Schlitz did, they did through Ben Barkin.
He was the key person with Bob Schlitz.
Right.
Right.
Robert Eli.
Yeah, Robert Eli. Right.
And then there's Molly Moon, who was from the regional Urban League.
Right. And most people remember Molly Moon as being national president of the Urban League Guild for the entire United States, and just recently passed.
Yes.
I had met her in Chicago, but she was 82 years old when she passed.
Yes.
Just recently, this year in fact. And of course here she is as a young lady.
Yes.
Along with?
And the well-known and beloved, our own William, who we call Bill Kelly, who was the executive director of the Urban League.
And who is this young lady?
And besides, the one who tried very hard to help me.
Right. And of course the rest is history. The Urban League is a well-established institution in the community, and many people remember Joe Gans, who used to operate in the basement with his boxers, right?
Yes.
Okay. Mattiebelle, you participated in a lot of other things. Now, I remember you helping, we have a museum downtown and a library that's on the corner of 8th and Wisconsin Avenue. I never knew this until recently, but you actually participated in helping to get the addition onto the library so they could have a museum there. And this was before they built the museum, which is across the street on Wall Street, right?
Yes.
And I see you had a letter from the public library commending you for your help. Right?
Yes, it does go way back.
Now, how did you do this? You were the editor of the Chicago Defender at the time.
Yes, but I did a lot of promotion and doing things to help. Anything they asked me to do, I participated in to help, to promote that part of business and getting it together.
Well, this was signed by Richard E. Krug, who was the city librarian for many, many, many years. And it says, Dear Mrs. Woods, though the library's informational campaign on its 75th anniversary continues, one of the phase of Diamond Jubilee activities has been concluded with the approval by Milwaukee's voters of an addition to the Central Library Museum building. And on behalf of the Board of Trustees and the library staff, I want to thank you for helping to make more citizens aware of how they could help to bring about the important extension of the library services which the addition will make possible. And then also from the very famous Greater Milwaukee Committee, which was a power structure at that time, from a Lloyd Herbstrip, thanking you again on behalf of the Greater Milwaukee Committee for the final business before labeling that portion of this file as devoted to the library complete, to thank you for your splendid cooperation on this most worthy civic endeavor. So you are written into the history of Milwaukee in terms of helping to make it a better place for all in this community. Now, one of the other things that was kind of outstanding during that period of time was the old Wisconsin Negro Directory. How did you participate in that with Mary Ellen Shad? This is in the early 50s, right? For you to find it. I know that that was a great little booklet. It listed all of the different businesses that were located in Milwaukee. Now, what we'll do now, while we're thinking about where we can find a copy of that, how did you participate with in 1951 with the March of Dimes? What did you do with that?
I was the 6th Ward area chairman in that. And at that time, we wanted everybody to know what polio was like.
Wow, yeah, I remember that.
And the Mothers March in those days was very important. And the dimes were really dimes. It was a worthwhile cause, and we worked hard for that. And that was one of my babies, I know, working for the March of Dimes.
Right, it seemed like every time someone would go to the swimming pool and come out of there, that somebody was catching polio. I don't know if it was being transmitted in the water or what, but we remember when they made a tremendous breakthrough and discovered the Salk vaccine, cut that out. So that was a great thing, and you participated in helping to raise the money on that.
Yes.
That was great. Now, for the big one, tell us about the directory.
Well,
we have here a letter from Mary Ellen Shad, who was the mother of Gerald Jones, and was the owner of the NOV,
yes,
and the Courier Communications, right? Mary Ellen Shad was a great force in this community for a long, long time. We have a letter here from her thanking you and expressing her appreciation for your help and the Chicago Defenders' help with developing, helping her with the Wisconsin Negro Business Directory. Tell us about this directory.
Well, that was something that she devised, and it was quite an interesting thing. And I'm sorry that it didn't continue, because it was a beautiful idea. It was quite worthy. And she was a baby who did it, and we loved her for it. Right. And I thought she deserved...
What was it in?
Well, it had directories of everything that was important.
In the African American community?
Yes. And she was a baby of that. And that gave her coverage of her on the front page, and she appreciated it.
Right, and that in turn helped her to be successful with the publication of it. Right, so
I was proud to do that, because it was a worthwhile thing, and she deserved it.
Now you have a couple of other pictures over here that I remember. One was the very famous Leroy Simmons. And here's a group of you all up there in Madison, in the state capitol, for the inauguration of the first black assemblyman in about 100 years.
I was a campaign manager for him.
And you were the campaign manager for Leroy Simmons. Tell us about that campaign. How'd you do it?
Well, first of all, it took a lot of work, because there hadn't been a Negro in the assembly in over 100 years.
Right, the first one was Lewin Palmer, but they thought he was white.
Yes, they did.
Okay.
So I thought it was about time. So we worked hard. And finally got one in.
Mm-hmm. Now, who are some of the people here? Now, there you are, right? Okay. Let's see. Can you remember anyone here? Well, Story Jones, yeah. That's Miss Malone there.
No.
Remember anyone? Some of the names were. Mm-hmm. This looks like old man Reuben Ryan in the background there. That's not Miss Lindsay. No. Okay, some of the names escape us here, but that's definitely Leroy Simmons, right?
Oh, yes.
Now, and the governor, wasn't it? Was it Governor Kohler?
Mm-hmm.
That's Terry Kohler's father or grandfather or uncle? It's one of the Kohler families out of Kohler, Wisconsin, who was governor for a number of years. Now, you mentioned that Leroy was there for a number of years, and then after which, who took his place?
Well, we decided that there was a young man going to college, and I went to his graduation, and he decided that he wanted to go into politics. That was our baby, Isaac N. Cobbs.
Isaac N. Cobbs, known as Mr. Civil Rights.
And a beautiful child, and a beautiful person. So then, I worked to put him in.
Right, and then Isaac Cobb had an illustrious career in the assembly, and then went on from there into the become a supervisor. No, where did he go from there?
He died.
Well, yeah, he was a supervisor first before that.
No.
County supervisor. No.
Not Isaac N.
Oh, this wasn't Isaac N. Which Cobbs was it? I thought Isaac Cobbs was up there, but it was actually.
No, Isaac Cobbs, assemblyman. That's what he was.
Right.
And then his wife?
Marcia. Right.
And he was an assemblyman.
Right. Okay. I remember him as an assemblyman, and then also as a county supervisor with Cal Moody and Clinton Rose, and then they split it up. No?
He was always assemblyman.
Okay, well, he was a great assemblyman.
He was.
Okay. Okay. Now, the next thing after that, one of the things that you did for the young people, and I remember very vividly, was when Val Phillips, who later became the first black alderman, and the first black judge, and the first Secretary of State for the state of Wisconsin, but in the community, word got around that a young lady had won the Elks Oratorical Contest. Now, I wasn't aware that you were the chairperson of that.
At that time, I was only working with them. I was chairperson later.
Later. And tell us about that. Is that still going on?
No, well, it is, but not as, in such a large area as it was before.
Tell us, how did that work?
Well, we selected children who wanted to be, as I said, in the Elks Oratorical Contest. If they won here, we took them to the region. So I had a regional winner, and that was...
And they would win money?
Oh, yes, and scholarships.
And scholarships. And of course, from this, Val Phillips went on to Howard University, and then back to the University of Wisconsin, and then became a lawyer, and then after that, everything else is history, right?
That's right.
Now, tell us about this picture.
Well, that's when I worked with the cancer. There hasn't been a drive I haven't worked with.
Right. Do you remember any of the people there?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
There's Virtual Lighting.
Virtual Light where's Virtual Light right here? Now, that's Casper Light A's light. Used to have Caspers on 13th and Keith, and Virtual Light was a block room member of Calvary Baptist Church, and still lives on A Street, just south of
And that's Mr. Art Smith of Slips.
Mr. Art Smith of Slips? What was he, like vice president or something? That's okay on the detail. And this young lady is? Okay.
But she...
Yes, Virtue Light, another great lady in the community. Now, these women...
that was a community chess group.
This is a community chess group, your team. Very good. Okay. Now, the next thing that you ran out of your own pocket for many, many years was Miss Black Teen. Tell us about that.
Now, that is my baby. The thing of it was, I I had been seeing contests where the girls, unless they were sponsored, weren't allowed to come in. So I realized there were a lot of children that had talent but no sponsors. So I decided a means of my own to get a Miss Black team. So I applied and sent a letter to the school board telling them that I wanted to get into the schools. So they sent me the permission.
Right here. It's from the school board and signed by Mr. Robert Baer, who was then school administration specialist in charge of Division of Administrative Services.
Advising the principals that I would be coming to the school and they could allow me to get the girls from the schools. So then I went to all the counselors, got all the counselors to advertise the fact that any girl who was in her teens could apply. And there wasn't any charges. The way I did it was, Gerald Jones helped me with my first magazine, the Miss Black Team. From then on, I did it on my own. But he was the one who gave me the idea and gave me the seed money for my first Miss Black Team magazine.
So you financed it yourself?
And that's when, through the ads in my Miss Black Team and through that, well, donations, we were able to sponsor 10 years of Miss Black Team.
That's beautiful. I remember a couple of them.
In fact,
Pandora.
His wife was one of my judges for quite a few years.
Right. Mildred Harpole.
Yes, of course.
And I remember Sylvia Donovan from Marshall High School, who later went on to work in the governor's office, and also had a couple of her works published in Ebony magazine, and did a couple of pieces with Marlene Cummings up in Madison, Wisconsin. And I don't know where she is right now, but she was a great teen from Marshall High School. Remember Pandora
was my first.
She was the first one, and now married to Doss Bender, and working as, actually went to school to become an engineer.
Yes.
Right. And who, can you remember a few others?
Well, we had our attorney, Pitts.
Oh,
Trinette Pitts.
Trinette Pitts. I remember her, yeah. She was just recently cited in the Milwaukee Sentinel.
Yeah.
She's now an attorney.
She was one of my girls. Well, I have so many beautiful children.
Right.
And I think of them. I just can't. There were over 200 and some girls that went through me in the 10 years. They all were outstanding.
Talented. From this community, Milwaukee community.
Right.
Now, do you see anything like that now?
Not at all, and I'm sorry about it. Because my Miss Black team, each year she would take part in the Summerfest, the State Fair,
right.
give out trophies. My Miss Black team and her court were everywhere doing something constructive in this community. And let them see, here's our Miss Black team doing things. And they did. So that's what made me proud about my Miss Black team.
Now, do you remember old man Wright that used to have the parades up and down, marching the community? And we used to march down Walnut Street. Remember Walnut Street?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Tell us about Walnut Street in terms of the pulling together a community.
Well, everything that happened, business-wise, was on Walnut Street. And at that time, it was a respected area where everybody gathered in a social way and in a nice, clean way. All their businesses emanated. The whole Regal Theater was there.
Regal Theater, where everybody used to gather up. They used to, used to bring in acts. It was something similar to the Apollo Theater, but on a lower scale. The different people like Billy Wallace, Bunky Green, old Hawkins, we used to call him Hawk, Leroy Hawkins, and a lot of, yeah, exactly, a lot of memories. And then I know I had my first sex education there with Jesse Owens. Jesse Owens came and demonstrated what would happen with, you know, sex and all, because the AIDS are concerned, but then there was syphilis and gonorrhea and so forth. So he was talking to younger people to teach them safe sex type of situation and to abstain at that time. Of course, that's the big topic now, even among the churches. So, what are some of the things you can remember that come back in your memory about old Milwaukee? You never did know Big John Slaughter, did you?
Yes.
That used to be along?
Yes, we knew him. But he was just someone I knew, but not personally.
Right. And then Joe Harris.
Okay.
And that group, and then
the money people.
And the C.L. Johnson.
And Mr. Jones.
And Mr. Jones that owned the Hillcrest Hotel. Right. And then there were quite a few hotels owned by black entrepreneurs at that time.
Yes.
What about the businessmen the Businessmen Association on Wall Street, Booker T. Washington, YMCA?
I'm trying to remember. I remember there was a drugstore we had on the corner of 7th and
Walnut.
No.
7th and Walnut?
7th and Reservoir?
Yeah, that was Hansborough. On
No.
7th and Reservoir? Right in the corner was...
wasn't it a drugstore?
And of course Lloyd was on Walnut Street itself. Lloyd's drugstore. And then Joe Jefferson had a grocery store on 7th and Reservoir. And then the cooperative drugstore with Mr. Burt's and a couple other men who had a cooperative on the corner of the northeast corner of...
Cooperative grocery store.
Right. And I remember that old man used to wear his hat on his head. Now, I remember that drugstore because I see the twins every now and then that used to be in it. And this Mrs. Lovings was, I think it was her father. Granbury? Right. And then, of course, Deacon Jones had the chicken shack in Walnut Street.
Well, no.
Well, of course, Larry Hill swears that his chicken was better.
Everybody praises their own.
Right. So, Marilyn, you've had a number of children, and one, and then one had a grandson by the name of Kenny Bedford, right?
Yes.
And what did you do with Kenny when he was like 9, 10, 11, 12 years old?
Well, Kenny had a mind of his own.
Oh, okay.
Kenny knew what he wanted to do from birth.
Oh, yeah.
And he decided he wanted to take pictures, and he did. So I remember the beautiful story that we were at a press meeting. They used to have these days, Ladies' Day by Al McGuire. So Bob Hummer, who was head of Channel 6 at that time, he mentioned the fact that, said, how's Ken? I said, he's fine. He said, Ken walked into Channel 6, 19 years old with a camera, and said, I wanted a job. So they gave him a job.
Right.
Said, but there wasn't nothing Ken Bedford couldn't do.
Right, well, he had
said he was hard to replace.
Right, he had gotten his teeth into the Milwaukee Star from 12 years old up, and he was the team editor of the Milwaukee Star newspaper while going to Roosevelt. Right. And he'd do his own column, take his own pictures, develop his own pictures, and write and type out his own column.
He did everything.
He did the whole thing, laid out his own page.
He did.
And that, of course, helped him when he got his first job. He became the first black cinematographer at Channel 6, right?
That's right. And the youngest. 19 years old.
19 years old. Then what happened to him after that?
Then he went on to Channel
7?
7 in Chicago.
ABC National Network in Chicago. And he was a cinematographer for who?
At one time, Oprah Winfrey.
Of course, with a big staff of about 3 or 4 people working for him.
Yes.
All the way from Rufus King High School.
He's very beautiful.
And what's he doing now?
He's still there.
Of course, Oprah has her own place now.
Yes.
Yeah. But it was a beautiful thing to see this kid who knew what he wanted to do from birth.
He had his
follow his
own
dream.
ideas about what he wanted to do, and he did it well.
Beautiful.
He did it well. Not saying because he's my grandson, but he did do it well.
Well, we all watched it.
Oh, yes.
Right there. Right there on 3rd Street, which is now Martin Luther King Jr. Drive.
Yes.
Right. What are some of the things that you remember best?
Oh, even I can't. There were so many lovely things I remember. I just can't think of.
Well, you have here an activity where you're being honored by the mayor, Mayor of Milwaukee, right? Former mayor,
Never had a day
Henry
for me.
Myers and
Yeah.
Ben Johnson,
Mhm.
and Mrs. Obie.
Yeah.
What event was that?
We had a day for me in 75.
A whole day for you in 1975. That is beautiful. Was this the whole event?
Yes, my family.
That's your family. There's Kenny.
There's Kitty.
Yeah. And there's
Ben.
Ben Johnson. And who is this?
That's my mother.
That's your mother,
My granddaughter.
granddaughter,
My daughter.
your daughter.
And my cousin.
Right. What are their names?
Elsie Mae Grams.
Mhm.
She's passed.
Mhm.
My daughter Karen.
Uh-huh.
My daughter Catherine and her daughter Karen.
Uh-huh.
Ken Bedford.
Uh-huh.
Dennis is back there somewhere. My other grandson,
Okay.
the sergeant in the Air Force.
Right.
My mother,
Uh-huh.
Ben Johnson.
Very
Billy
good.
Dennis.
Oh, okay.
He's a sergeant in the Air Force.
Oh, yeah, with the sunglasses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and of course there's the mayor, and there's B. Childs
Presenting me
with the award there. Mhm. And this was the opening of, okay,
I was chairman of Juneteenth Day there.
chairman of Juneteenth Day, and you were cutting the ribbon for Juneteenth Day on that
Yeah.
day. Of course, you got Jan Kemp here, standing beside you, and Joe Winston from the Northcott. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Nice. Of course, Juneteenth Day has gone on to make tremendous history.
Yes,
In fact, that's
up
coming up.
again.
It's coming up again on the 19th of June. It's called Juneteenth Day. And that's mainly because it was the slaves, former slaves in Texas that didn't hear about it until that day. And they decided to celebrate on that day. And of course, it's now taken on across the country.
Certainly has.
Right. So, we certainly would like to thank you for a wonderful interview. And you're still going strong because you're at all the dances, all the events. You're still the columnist of Party Lines in the Milwaukee Courier. And so anyone wanting to read your column, you have ran a running history of almost everybody in our community in your column.
Generations and generations.
Generations, right. Right. Now, before we leave, I'd certainly like for our viewing audience to see some of your newspapers and some of your pictures and things. And so we're going to be kind of quiet while you show us your pictures of history in the making. Now we have the picture of the first black astronaut, Bluford. Sending you a personal picture with his congratulations.
I was there in Chicago when they honored him.
Right. Okay.
That's the well-known and very loved. Isn't that our sheriff? Sheriff Artisan.
Sheriff Richard Artisan. I imagine you were part of the campaign.
No, but I loved him just the same.
Right. Okay.
Now that's my little red feather award. And I'm so proud of it. From the community chest.
Right.
Father Matthews and Father Julian, who visited me just last couple of days ago to bless me.
And Father Matthew's been in this community 40-something.
And so very well loved. And Father Julian too.
Right. Now, some of the pictures that are on the wall there, what can you tell us about that? The one in the...
The one that you're looking at now, that was my confirmation from the Common Council on my day.
In 1975.
Yes. That's the one from the Common Council, signed by the alderman.
Okay. And the other one signed by Mayor Henry Myers.
It's a proclamation from the mayor.
I would certainly like to thank you for agreeing to allow us to come into your home to dwell into some of the moments that have been great memories for you in your life. And I'd like to say that I certainly talked about you in Tokyo when I was there in the 60s, 57 actually, and told folks there in Tokyo about you. And you have been going strong ever since, and you are currently chairman of the 18th.
Now, I'm committee woman.
Committee woman.
From the 15th Parliament.
Parliament District, right.
And I represented the 5th Congressional District
right.
in Washington.
You certainly did, but with Jim Moody, that you were a senior intern in 1984 for a whole week, where you learned about the operations of Congress.
Right.
And you're still actively involved with as a committee woman
yes.
in this district, which is the largest district in the city of Milwaukee.
21 wards.
21 wards. Tremendous. Well, you're certainly an inspiration to me and to the other young people who are in this community right now in terms of an excellent role model in which to model. And we certainly wish that you do make it past 100.
I'm working on that.
Right.
Reuben, honest, every time somebody calls me, they say, Miss Reuben? I said, Reuben tells everybody about me. Reuben, you're my best press agent.
Well, I would twist it. I'd say you are, because you've been consistent over these years. You've written that beautiful column in the Milwaukee Courier for year in and year out. Anyone wanting to know about anybody in the African American community, all they have to do is look up the back issue of the Milwaukee Courier and read just your column, and they'll find out who's who in Black Milwaukee.
Thank you, Reuben. I love you. You know that.
Right. So until our next set, this is Reuben Harpole saying so long.